Hello everyone, my name is Chrys. I am the author of the Disaster Crime series, as well as Write with Faye and Keep Writing with Faye. For this PowerPoint presentation, I am going to provide dialogue advice. What is dialogue? Dialogue is a conversation between two or more people as a feature of a book, play, or movie. Dialogue can be anything, literally anything that your characters would say, just as it can be anything we'd say to someone. In this example, this is a shameless self-promo, is from Frozen Crimes, Book 5 of my Disaster Crime series. His violet eyes sparkled. "Hey gorgeous, how are you?" "Good. A moment ago I consumed a giant bowl of ice cream. You're lucky you didn't call then. You would have been horrified by the scene." Dialogue is always enclosed by two quotation marks. And as you can see there, the quotation marks are around the word hey. To keep dialogue realistic, use contractions and easy forms of speech. For example, I'm, your, I'll, what's. When we talk, we don't often say you are, I am, etc. There are exceptions, of course, but most of the time our speech is simple when we're having a conversation. We usually say I'm exhausted, not I am exhausted. However, if you want to emphasize something for greater impact, using the longer versions of speech is good. For example, I am going to kill you. With that example, it's more forceful and suspenseful and can bring out the character's anger even more, especially when paired with an action. Make sure dialogue fits with the character's age, the time period, and the setting. For example, for a young adult book, you don't want the dialogue for your teenage characters to have such huge vocabulary words, and especially if your story is in first person, you don't want to use those huge vocabulary words in the narrative either. You don't have to dumb down the language for young adults, but it needs to be realistic, not an SAT prep. When writing a historical book, there shouldn't be modern language or slang. For example, depending on the year of your story is set in, heart attack might not have been a phrase in use. They might not have even known that what is going on with someone is a heart attack. So you have to be aware of your story, the setting, the time period, and research the usage of words during that time. The same goes with the setting. Up north, they say pop or soda pop, and down south, we say soda or Coke. Don't let the dialogue from multiple characters sound the same. Your characters are unique. We all express ourselves differently and use unique phrases. Our personalities also match our dialogue. What we say is what we believe, think, and feel, so it expresses us. Give your characters different tones and memorable voices. This will help your readers to distinguish one character from another when they talk. Have your characters talk as you would to your friends, but perhaps not as laid back. Was watching TV would be better written as I was watching TV. Teens may text a lot, but they don't actually talk in text style. If you're writing a young adult book, don't leave out pronouns in dialogue just because your characters are teenagers. Try not to use too much slang in dialogue. Now, it's not bad to use slang, but some people might not know or understand it, especially if it's in a foreign language, which can jar readers from the story. By cutting back on slang, you eliminate the risk of confusion. Slang can also date a story if the phrases and words you use go out of style. Also avoid heavy accents that are hard to decipher. Now that doesn't mean you can't use accents, but if a reader isn't familiar with the accent, they should still be able to understand what your character is saying. Now, dialogue tags. What is a dialogue tag? Dialogue tags are the words used after a character has spoken, such as he said or she whispered. But they're not always at the end. A tag can come before spoken words or even in the middle of dialogue. And this is another example from Frozen Crimes. No way, Layton said, I'm not leaving you. Or here's an example, not from Frozen Crimes. She yelled, get away from me. The said debate. People suggest to only use said in a dialogue tag because it's invisible and doesn't distract the reader. But there's no rule that says you can't use other words. Sometimes you want the impact of a descriptive dialogue tag to add emphasis. How something is said is just as important as the words. There's nothing wrong with throwing in tags like asked, whispered, begged, murmured, groaned, growled, and any other ones that you can think of. For example, Thorn, the driver's door opened, Beth whispered. Of course, you don't want to overpower your dialogue tags with stronger verbs for said. Sprinkle them in when necessary. Now, the next slide contains an example that I wrote for a writers club that I participate in. And all of the characters in it are actually members of the writers club. They got a real kick out of it when I presented this, so I decided to keep it for this presentation, and I hope you enjoy it. Said can be used too much. You do not need a dialogue tag for every single line of dialogue in a single conversation between two people. For example, I need to go to Walgreens for Dr. Pepper, MJ said. Don't forget the peanut butter cups, Chrys said. What makes you think I'd forget those, MJ said. I'd never forget the peanut butter cups. I'm just saying, Chrys said. You want me to buy you some, don't you, MJ said. Yes, Chrys said. Now, this is the same conversation edited with fewer tags. I need to go to Walgreens for Dr. Pepper, MJ said. Don't forget the peanut butter cups, Chrys said. What makes you think I'd forget those? I'd never forget the peanut butter cups. I'm just saying. You want me to buy you some, don't you? Yes? A conversation with multiple characters. When dealing with multiple characters talking in a scene, specifying which character is talking is necessary, especially when he or she said won't work in the case of characters of the same gender. For example, wait, Michael said, don't forget the whiskey. Jennifer lifted a brow. Does Walgreens even carry whiskey? I'm not sure, MJ said, but I'll check. Okay, Jennifer said. So if you're getting Michael's whiskey and Chris's peanut butter cups, can you get me some popcorn? MJ grumbled. Fine. Eliminate dialogue tags. Not every line of dialogue needs a tag to go along with it. For example, Julie raised her hand. Can you get me a pint of ice cream too? She asked. This is the better version of that. Julie raised her hand. Can you get me a pint of ice cream too? She asked isn't necessary because we already know who is speaking since Julie raised her hand, and the punctuation marks make it clear she's asking a question. Even for a different example using she said and a comma, like she gave me a high five, good job, she said, the tag she said isn't needed because we know she is speaking, and said at that point is redundant. While you don't need a tag like said, asked, or stated when we already know who is talking, there is an exception. Using a tag like whispered or shouted after a character's action in dialogue is fine, so we know exactly how the character is speaking. For example, the boy's cheeks brightened. Hi, he whispered. When you use a character's action before or after the dialogue, a tag is not necessary. This is an example from Frozen Crimes with 3 characters, and it shows you how you can use action in the place of a dialogue tag. "Are you okay? You're not going into early labor, are you?" She chuckled at his panicked concern. "No, rubbing the belly is a pregnant woman's habit. I'm fine." "Good." Thorne let out a breath. "Do you have a sleeping bag?" She frowned. "Sure. Why?" "You didn't think I'd be leaving the 2 of you after all that, did you?" "Yeah," Leighton said. "You didn't think he'd leave us after all that." She leaned in to whisper in Beth's ear. "Do you have a sleeping bag for 2? Incorrect dialogue tags. Side is one that is used a lot. You can't sigh while saying something. You can, however, sigh before or after you speak. "Okay," MJ sighed. "I'll get you ice cream, Julie. What flavor?" Notice how the dialogue is punctuated with the word and not a comma. This is the correct way to do it. A few more dialogue tags. Smirked, smiled, grinned, and shrugged. Incorrect? "I'm fine with any flavor, comma, Julie shrugged." Correct. "I'm fine with any flavor, period, Julie shrugged." Or, "I'm fine with any flavor, comma, Julie said with a shrug." Because you can shrug and talk at the same time, but shrugged, smiled, etc. are not ways you say something. They're not dialogue tags. You don't shrug a line of dialogue, you say it, or shout it, or ask it, and so on. As an editor, when I see these used with a comma, I replace the comma with a period and capitalize the pronoun, every time. And it solves the problem because it shows that the character smiled or laughed or shrugged after speaking. Long blocks of dialogue. For long blocks of dialogue for a single character, only one dialogue tag is needed. You can break up a chunk of dialogue by inserting body language and actions for the character who is speaking. For example, "She didn't move from where she stood." "Donovan, you murdered our home phone. You're not fine. What's going on? Who called?" Her eyes widened. "Is it your mom? Your grandma? Are they okay?" She took a few steps toward him. Notice how there's not even a dialogue tag there, because we know who is talking. The "she" was already established before this dialogue as Beth from my story, Frozen Crimes. All dialogue should have a purpose. Dialogue should move the story or scene forward. Is it needed? Does it contribute to the moment? Does it reveal something about a character? Pointless dialogue, like some random conversations we have with family and friends, does not need to be in your story. Final tip. If you struggle to make the dialogue sound realistic, try this. I have a conversation with myself when writing complex dialogue between my characters. I play both sides to get their feelings and words right. Strange? Maybe, but I stand by that method. Next time you're alone and writing a conversation for your book, role play out loud. Believe me, it works. For more tips, you can check out Write with Faye, 10 Sparks to Guide You from Idea to Publication. This book offers tips on writing, editing, publishing, marketing, and so much more. And then there is Keep Writing with Faye, my newest release. sparks to defeat writer's block, depression, and burnout. Thank you. I hope you found this presentation informative. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment and I will reply back to it. Thank you. Until next time, bye.